Welcome to Ordinary Teachers and Students, where we get to hear teachers and students tell us their extraordinary stories. My hope is that through this podcast, ordinary teachers from around the world can relate to the stories they hear and get some timely suggestions and ideas. My name is Alan Cheng, and I'm a life coach as well as a university lecturer. My vision is to make life coaching a part of every school. Today, I'm delighted to invite Connie Ma onto our podcast. Connie was my student during her 3 senior secondary years. She has since gained a bachelor's degree in fine art, and she's currently pursuing a master's degree in the history of art in the UK. Connie is one of the most diligent students I've ever taught, and she's also one of my go-to students for artistic advice. So let's welcome Connie.
Hello, thanks for having me today. It's been a real privilege.
Yeah, so do you have anything to add to the intro that you want our audience to know about you?
I thought the introduction was just spot on, just the right amount of detail, and I really appreciate your kind words to me and my and my artistic take on things.
Yeah, I tell this to all artistic people that I know. I'm always jealous of people who are very good at art because I'm just the absolute opposite. Anyway, do you want to tell us maybe a little bit about what school was like? So you can talk about primary if you want to, if you can still remember it, or you can just focus on secondary school. Yeah, what was it like for you?
Well, I think both my primary and secondary school experience felt somewhat autonomous to me. While primary school was supposed to be a fun time for me, but I often found it stressful, particularly as I struggled with reading, and I didn't see myself as a particularly talented student. And there were moments when I felt somewhat left out by the school environment.
Wow. Okay, so
Yeah.
to me, that's very different from my perception. So if I kind of describe to our listeners, my perception of you is that you're super hardworking and you're the kind of student who would really do what the teacher tells you to do. So if I ask you, oh, let's do this piece of homework, you would follow the instruction very carefully and you would submit it on time almost every single time. So you're almost like a model student to the teachers. But just the way you describe it, so monotonous, stressful, and you're feeling left out. Where do you want to start? Do you want to elaborate a little bit on that?
Because my primary school was a competitive school.
Yeah.
I mean, every student worked diligently. And I don't know why they have they like comparing. So it's been a bit stressful to me.
Okay.
And I don't really enjoy my primary school, to be honest.
Right. So did that affect the way you thought about school? So when you say that you don't really like, or you didn't really like your primary school life, did you kind of approach secondary school with a bit of skepticism, like, not sure what it's going to be like at this secondary school?
Because of those unpleasant experience in primary school, I feel like going to school is a duty.
Going to school is a duty. That very much describes what it's like in Hong Kong, right? Like it's your duty to go to school. Was there a particularly stressful moment that you remember from primary school, or was it just everything just like to you? I mean, obviously it's been a long time. I mean, you're still very young, but it's still quite a long time ago at primary school life. Was there a particular moment, or was it just the whole thing altogether?
I think it's about my academic performance. Like I mentioned, I have struggled with reading. And I always got failed to the reading papers. I have no ideas why, but and then my mom just take me to a tutorial class, and I don't think it makes much improvement.
And this is for both Chinese and English, right? When you say that you failed the reading.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But I think the secondary school to me felt more like a period of self-discovery.
Okay.
And where I was able to explore my interests and envision what I wanted for my future.
Mm,
And particularly in my senior year, I began understand my preference, like
yeah,
what
yeah.
subjects and fields I enjoyed and those I didn't. And
Mm,
it was during this time that I also started contemplating my future career path.
mm, mm,
Like,
mm, mm.
so I believe that secondary school played a critical role in shaping who I am today
Yeah.
and guiding me towards my current endeavors.
Mm, mm. Um, I wanted to know a bit more about your struggles in reading, if you don't mind. Like, so, like, when you
Mm-hmm.
told me that you really struggled in reading in primary school, did this continue in secondary school, or did it get better?
Until now.
Until now, right?
Yeah, it's
And
an
right now,
ongoing issue.
mm,
Um, my issue is just like I read so slow.
mm,
I
mm, mm,
take more time to process information
mm,
and
mm, mm.
um no, but
Is
I
there
still
something?
enjoy
Yeah, I
reading.
mean, how have you tried to help yourself overcome that? Because obviously, like I was your English teacher back in the day, and I did remember that you struggled a little bit, particularly for reading,
Mm-hmm.
but you seem to kind of make up for it using your hard work. So you kind of work so much harder than most people, that you kind of close the gap, if you see what I mean. Like, was there anything that you did yourself to help yourself tackle the reading issue?
I think I do have my own way to tackle it,
Mm,
but
mm.
I don't know what is the exact way. I think
So you just coped with
I
it.
I think I just force myself to cope with it and
Mm,
take more time to adapt it. But
mm.
I just treat it as part of my life already.
Yeah, sure, sure. And was there anything else that you want to tell us about your primary or secondary school life before we move on to kind of the main body of the podcast?
Um, no, I just want to add on like, but I do enjoy school.
You did well. Can you tell us more? Because
So
like
it's
it's a bit
a bit
contradictory, right? So
contradictory, yeah.
in primary school, it seems like it was pretty much a nightmare. I don't know if that's the best way to describe it. You didn't enjoy it. It's very stressful, quite monotonous. Even
Mm-hmm.
feelings of being left out, right? But so then you tell me now suddenly that you kind of enjoyed school. Was there
Um,
something that changed?
I think it's because I am quite enjoy study myself. I
Okay.
enjoyed self-discovery. I
Mm,
enjoyed finding ways to help myself.
mm,
And more importantly, I met nice people in school. Like I have kind classmates.
mm.
Um, I have kind teachers like you, and
Oh,
you
okay. I was
just
waiting for you to say that.
really you just really make class enriching, and I do enjoy having your class. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for that. And I just want to clarify, I don't invite my own students just to come on to say this on my podcast. Well, anyway, if moving on to the next part, I mean, like I said, with all podcasts, we invite the guests to come up with a topic or just an area that you wish to go a bit deep in. Was there a particular area that you wish to talk about in a bit more detail?
Um, Not exactly a topic, but I just want to share my experience, like how I
Hmm.
choose subjects, and
Yeah,
I
sure. Yeah, yeah.
just want to take my opportunities to thanks my parents
Ah,
sometimes.
right. Yeah. Yeah, sure. No,
And
it's actually a really, really big area because for many students, it's a difficult time where they're making decisions which they might not know kind of how far reaching it is later on in life, so how much it might affect them
Mhm,
later. So it also there's lots of moving parts. So for some students,
mhm,
their parents might be quite controlling, and then they make the decisions for them. For other students, they might just be given the free hand to make all the decisions. So yeah, no, I would love to know more. So where do you want to start in terms of making decisions and choosing subjects that you enjoy studying?
um, I felt like my school life, particularly during secondary school, heavily emphasized the academic side of things.
Mm,
And the society sometimes just ingrained it in me the belief that good grades were critical or
mm,
crucial for
mm,
university admissions, and a high GPA was necessary for a
mm,
successful career. So it's turned out that my days fell into a more repetitive routine
mm, mm,
for just like a routine of waking up at 6 every morning and then
mm.
attending school and either going home or going to tutorials at 4 o'clock.
Yeah,
But I just want to take these opportunities to shout out to my parents
yeah, yeah.
and who are just being very supportive to me.
Mm,
And I remembered when it came time to choose elective subjects for my senior year, I
mm,
asked their advice. And rather than pushing me towards career-oriented options,
mm,
they encouraged me to be true to myself
mm.
and just trust my instincts.
Yeah.
And their encouragement to pursue subjects aligned with my genuine interest allowed me to
Mm,
um, embark on a journey of self-discovery.
yeah, yeah.
So I think the theme today is a bit like self-discovery,
Self-discovery, yeah,
like
absolutely, yeah.
a journey of self-discovery in the world of arts and art history. And
Mm,
it's just allowed me to break free from the um, societal norms and values, which
mm.
empowered me to define my own path based on my passion and aspirations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I really appreciate how much your parents were willing to trust you and trust your instincts on choosing subjects
Mhm.
that you were interested in. Um, Having said that, though, it must be quite a big decision for yourself because if you think about it, when you chose your subjects at the time, you were about 14, 13, 14 years old-ish, right? Um,
Yes.
before you moved on to senior secondary, right? Was it a difficult decision, or you kind of already knew which areas you were interested in at that time?
Um, I think it's not very hard for me to make a decision during that
Mm,
time, because I understand I'm not really good at science.
mm.
Um, I am not good at history, particularly remember.
Aren't you
Yes,
studying
I
master's
am
degree
going
in
to
history? You're going to tell us later.
I'm
Okay,
going to explain it later.
sure.
Like,
Okay.
because I'm not good at remembering things.
Okay. Okay.
Like, remember loads of historical
Yeah.
background is like torturing me. So
Same. Same.
I I got very bad grade during
Mm.
my 3 years of junior years in the history
Yeah.
class.
Yeah. Okay.
And then but I like art, I like visual art. So
Yep.
I chose visual art as one of my elective subjects. And
Mm.
another one was um business financial accounting.
Yep.
That's a completely different
Yeah.
field. But
Mm.
I didn't regret what I chose.
Was that more for career possibilities, or was there another reason for business and accounting?
It's because there's not so much choice for me to choose.
Yeah, so you've already
So
eliminated
I
sciences, right? And no
yes, so
history.
I
Mm.
used the elimination method,
Mm.
like to help myself in choosing subjects.
Yeah, no, actually, that's quite a sensible thing. I mean, some people like, I think it really helps sometimes when you actually eliminate the ones that you really don't want to do,
Mhm.
and then you're left with maybe just a few choices, and then it helps a lot because making decisions can be quite a tough thing, right? And so when you have fewer choices, it's actually sometimes easier to make the choice. And it's good
Yes.
that you say you didn't regret it. I'm curious about the visual arts choice because although I don't really know too much about the elective of visual arts, I do know that there's quite a lot of reading and writing though. Like people think that visual arts is just about all about drawing, right? But I do remember when I was invigilating the exam, all the students had to write a quite long piece next to the art piece, right?
Yes.
So were you affected?
I think what you're talking about is the theory paper in
I guess
the
so.
yeah, the theory paper. Like we have to take 45 minutes to finish a critique of an artwork before before making our own piece of art.
Yeah.
And then we have to spend 15 minutes to write the statement about our artwork. I guess you were
Yeah.
talking about this.
Yeah. I mean, were you
Um,
surprised by the amount of maybe reading and writing that you had to do in art?
I'm not really surprised on that because
Okay.
I did a lot of practice and I was quite used to to do those.
Okay.
So I don't feel particular nervous when I have to do those.
Sure. And then so if we move on to kind of maybe the next big decision that you probably had to make, which was moving on from secondary school to further studies. So how did you make that choice then?
Well, it was quite difficult. I remember
Mm,
that
mm,
because I got a very good grade in accounting,
okay.
and the grade is higher than my grade in visual art.
Something
So
very similar happened to me too, but I'll let you continue.
so sometimes I think when students encounter like this kind of things, they usually followed the subject which they achieve higher grades. But I was I didn't do that. I
mm,
just keep pursuing my dream to be an artist, though I'm
mm.
not an artist now. Um, I think art sometimes is just ambiguous,
Yep.
and most of the time it was very subjective, and
Mm,
I don't know what I'm doing.
wow. Okay.
But yeah, but as I said, these are all self-discovery and
Yep.
making you to become a person who have a critical mind.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I do want you to maybe tell us a bit more about that decision. So, um, when you had a higher grade in business and accounting compared to visual arts, it must be tough, like you said, right? To think, okay, I'm still going to persist with art in tertiary education. How did you make that decision? Like, was it just by yourself, or did you get help from friends, family, teachers, or what helped you make that decision?
Well, to be a little bit exaggerated, I felt a bit heartbroken when my accounting grades is
Of course,
higher
yeah,
than visual art
I can
because
imagine.
I put a lot of effort on visual art
Mm,
and then but I did ask advice.
mm,
I did seek advice from my parents,
yep.
my teachers. I remember I seek advice from you as well.
I'm sure you did.
And what you say is like just follow your gut feeling.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's something I would definitely say. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, was that something that helped you, or was there anything else that you felt helped you to finally make the decision? Because obviously you can keep procrastinating and keep procrastinating on the decision and keep going around in circles, but then at the end of the day, there is a deadline to when you submit your forms or application, right? So, what helped to make the final decision?
Just trust myself.
Mm,
Like because I just obsessed with artwork and I
yep.
like drawing anywhere in my home since I
Yep.
was a child. So so I just followed my what you said. I just followed my gut feeling to trust
Okay.
myself. And although I got a very good grade in accounting, but I just spent a lot of time
Mm,
to achieve it.
mm,
So
mm,
meanwhile I'm concerned that I am not able to achieve the same thing
mm, mm.
um in university. So
Okay.
I think studying art will be the great option for me.
Okay. And so now fast forward how many years? 4, 6, 5, 5 years ish?
I think it's
Yeah. So how
six,
do you feel about your
5 to 6
decisions then?
years. Well, I really enjoy it and I never regrets what I decided.
I mean, that's very reassuring to
Um,
hear, right?
yeah. And I did heard about people who studied subject they don't like
Mm.
for a long time
Yeah.
that I don't think it will be a pleasant experience to me. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just
absolutely.
be glad that my parents was really supportive to me and they just trust whatever decision I made.
I mean, do you ever from time just from time to time or sometimes just suddenly think, oh, what would have happened if I had taken accounting? Like, would you kind of try and visualize that pathway and thinking about where you might be today?
Well, I think if I choose accounting, that will be a nightmare to me.
Mm.
Because I'm not really interested in numbers,
Okay,
in
okay.
large numbers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So if I choose um accounting, that will be just forcing myself to do something I don't like. And
Hmm.
it's just like following the social trend of studying business.
Yeah, well, pretty much like me, right? Um, I had a further question though, about your parents because I do remember just now you mentioned that your parents were very supportive, and particularly
Mm-hmm.
kind of the two big decisions that we talked about so far were choosing subjects in secondary school and then choosing kind of what to do after secondary school, right? I'm just curious to know, have they always been like this? So have they always given you opportunities to make decisions for yourself, or was it that when you were choosing subjects for yourself, that was the first time you've ever done or made such a big decision for yourself?
Um, I think they just give me a autonomous to make decision. And that's not the first time. I mean, choosing the
Mm,
subjects. And
mm.
I have been giving a lot of freedom to do what I want.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
um, but they do help me to help me sometimes. Like during my primary school, I joined a lot of activities like swimming,
Mm,
playing musical instruments,
mm,
going to tutorial class. Those are activities they help me to schedule. But
okay, when you say that, I'm just curious whether they force you ever to do something that you didn't really like. I mean, for example, playing piano, because I think everyone in Hong Kong knows how to play the piano.
yeah, I don't the reasons why I play pianos because my brother played pianos as well.
Okay, so that
So
was more
they
your
just
choice?
they just wanna be a bit resourceful. I
So
think I
make good
can
use of the
to
piano, right?
play, yes, make good use of piano. But I think they made a good decision to me
Yeah. Okay.
because
Okay.
I really enjoy playing piano, especially I feel relaxful
Mm-mm.
when I play musical instruments, and they are just part of my life.
Sure, sure.
Um, on the other hand, like those tutorial class, swimming class, I think I know the reasons why they schedule those for me
Mm?
because I think they give me the opportunities to try.
Right, right, right.
One thing I wanted to emphasize is that when I express my feeling to them, like I don't like that, they
Mm.
will just
Okay.
stop it.
So they
Yeah.
wouldn't continue to force you to do
Yes.
it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, I keep taking you back and forth along your timeline, but I'm once again, I just want you to take you back to the present day. And the reason for that is like when you look back at all the big decisions you've made, the way your parents supported you, how well you are aware of yourself. Like, because I think it's important to be aware of yourself in order to trust yourself, right? How do you feel today, right now, as an adult, given that you've had that experience of making so many big decisions for yourself? Or do you feel you're ready for this adult? I mean, you're already an adult, but I'm just going to say adult world where
Yeah.
you're going to have more and more big decisions to make. So, for example, your future job, where you're going to live, and so on.
I'm quite ready, but I still feel nervous sometimes. I am ready is because I have experience to handle things by myself.
Mm.
I I can make decisions for myself, and I don't really regret what decision I made.
When you make a big decision now, then I know you trust your instinct, right? Is there anything else? Is there anything that you do to help you make those decisions? Again, different people have different ways. They might toss a coin. So imagine you have two choices, right? Do you toss a coin? Do you draw like a T chart and then compare all the pros and cons? Do you have a go-to method for making your big decisions?
Um, I do jot some notes sometimes because I
Yeah.
think writing can help me think,
Mm,
and listing out things can give me a big map
mm.
to to understand certain kind of things.
Yeah,
So
sure.
I think writing just helped me a lot, and also seeking advice. And sometimes I got loads of advice that I have to choose which piece of advice I'm going to take. I think
Mm.
this all a important process to make a
Yeah.
good decision.
Yeah, actually, that's a very good point. Like, so I think one thing, seeking advice is important, but then when you have so many different pieces of advice, it can be, particularly when they're conflicting, right? So when person A says one thing, and then person B says another thing, and then person C says another thing, then it's that kind of
Yeah.
maturity to know who to really listen to. Right. I mean, that's a lot on decision making already. Was there anything else that you wanted to add on top of what we said already about making big decisions in your life?
I think usually when I have to make a very big decision, I spend a lot of time to ponder it.
Mm.
And sometimes I just feel like I will stay in a silence chamber to
Mm.
echo chamber to talk to myself. Like
Mm.
just know more about myself before before making a big decision.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay. So are you ready to move on to our quick fire questions?
Yep. Yeah,
You sound a bit
I'm
nervous.
ready.
How would teachers describe you then? So when you're back in secondary school?
Well, it's usually well behaved,
Mm.
creative,
Mm.
shy, passive, and in confidence.
Okay.
Yes, these are usually what teacher describe me.
Okay. What do you think schools or teachers should do more of, like in terms of helping students at school? Yeah, that's the correct. Yeah, yeah.
Uh, I think this question is a bit hard because I don't expect teachers to do much because my learning approach is learning on my own and
Mm,
just finding my ways to cope with things. But
mm,
I think it would be great if teachers could be more empathetic or compassionate to students.
yeah, sure. How about doing less of them? Pestering you, maybe.
Uh, Maybe not punishing students because of not knowing or understanding.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I want to add on about my experience on a history class. Like
Mm.
you asked me, you don't like history, but I am studying art
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
history
Please
right.
do, please do. Yeah.
Yeah, because during my secondary school junior year, I was just really weak in history, and I always got detention, class detention, particularly in the second year, because we have
Mm,
teacher. I think she somehow just put high expectation to students, and I am not able to remember the historical background. So when I'm not able to answer the questions she asked, I got class detention and I'll just leave the school very late. So during that time, I don't like history class. But I study art history now is because art history is completely different from those experience. I mean, art history sometimes is not just about studying a historical period, a background of the historical period, but it involves more critique. Like we have given a piece of artwork and you can express what you think and you can interpret the artwork by yourself using some kinds of phenomenology, like your experience.
Yep, sure.
So I think but yeah, just like art history is completely different from those what I did in the secondary school life.
And at least you don't need to memorize dates of historical events,
Yeah,
right? And you don't get detention for not answering the question correctly.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Moving on, do you think you can share one funny or strange or scary or touching moment that happened in your secondary school life?
I would like to share the moment from my last year of high school, which was during the fun run and Christmas party festivities. After completing the 4K run, my classmates and I returned to the classroom for the Christmas dance rehearsal, which is really a fun experience to dance in the classroom. Despite being exhausted from the run, and we worked diligently together, and I remembered you joining us as well, even
Yeah,
though there were moments when you struggle with the dance movements.
absolutely. So apart from art, like
Yeah.
dancing is not my thing. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And then the next day during the Christmas party, we were thrilled to win prizes as a whole class. And I think I think it was a testament to our class and team spirit and the bond we have built together throughout the year. So this experience just truly touched me and remains a cherished memory of our times together.
Oh yeah, I when you talk about it, it suddenly brings back all the memories of how I struggled with the dance, and then I remember the other class teacher of the class. We were both struggling, and so it was actually quite fun because we struggled together. So, thank you for that. Do you have a question for me? Because I've spent a lot of time asking you questions, so I want to give you a chance to ask a question to me too.
Yes, I do have one. Like, what inspires your dedication and joy in teaching?
That's a interesting question. I enjoy the feeling of being helpful to someone else. So I think that's one of the biggest things for me as a teacher, where I have direct impact on other people's lives. And I think one other thing that kind of keeps me going is that I can see the longer term picture because I've been in teaching for so many years now. So I don't get too frustrated if, for example, what I do to help a student doesn't immediately work. I always know that, okay, it might not work. Like I might not see the results of it immediately, but I'm very sure I'll see it further down the line. So it's really that impact that I'm able to have on someone's life, particularly for the good, of course, right? So when I see someone who maybe is going towards the quote unquote like wrong direction, but being able to drag them back and towards the what I would perceive maybe as a better direction, I think that's really helpful for me to continue to be so dedicated, I would say. But yeah, thank you for your question. I guess one last question for you would simply be any teachers that you remember particularly vividly. So you can talk about good reasons or bad reasons. If you talk about bad reasons, you might not want to mention the names unless you really want to.
Um, I think one of them was obviously you, and then my visual art teacher in high school, and also my class teacher in my last 2 years of primary school. I think they all share similarities, like being passionate, genuine, supportive, encouraging, and enlightened. And they have always been my inspiration, and I am truly grateful to them.
Oh, thank you for that, Connie. And so I just want to thank you again for coming onto the podcast. So thank you for sharing all the different ways that you use to make decisions for yourself and how you have discovered yourself. So as you mentioned, it's been a journey of self-discovery and self-awareness. And I mean, one thing as a teacher, so being your teacher for so many years now, I would say I've always been impressed by how confident you appear from that. I mean, you might not feel it yourself, but then from the outside, I feel that you're always a very confident person in terms of trusting yourself, like you said, because you've made some very big decisions in your life. So one being to come to the UK to study, for example. And so I've always been very impressed with how willing you are to go out your own comfort zone to push yourself to become better. And so I wish you all the best in the coming year as you finish your master's degree. And yeah, thank you so much again for coming on the podcast.
Right, thank you. It's my pleasure.
In Connie's journey of self-discovery, she learned to trust herself in making big life decisions. She had confidence in her decisions because her parents and teachers trusted her. She narrowed down her choices by considering what she was and wasn't good at. It really takes a lot of guts to study something that you're interested in rather than something you got a better grade in. After speaking with Connie, it made me reflect as a teacher and a parent. How can we nurture our students and children to confidently make big decisions for themselves? I hope you enjoyed listening to Connie's extraordinary story, and please do join us again next time on Ordinary Teachers and Students.